Performance Hall and the Ann and Ellen Fight Theater. Please note the location of exits nearest you. In case of emergency, remain calm and await instructions from our staff. If the fire alarm sounds, you will be instructed to leave the building. Please proceed to the nearest exit where ushers will direct you. If you need special assistance, please notify your usher. In consideration of those on stage and your fellow audience members, please turn off all alarms and ringers on your devices. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Heidi Tidies, and good afternoon, everyone.
Welcome to Virginia Tech's 2025 State of the University Address.
I'm Julie Ross, Dean of the College of Engineering.
And I'm Lance Collins, Vice President and Executive Director of the Innovation Campus, speaking to you from the beautiful new Academic Building 1 in Alexandria, where we are shaping the future of Virginia Tech and the Commonwealth.
Just as we imagined a decade ago, Virginia Tech is growing beyond boundaries. We're not limited by location or discipline, and we're working together as one university. We can have an impact anywhere innovation takes us.
Today is a perfect example of our university coming together from places around the Commonwealth and beyond to envision the future.
Please welcome the President of Virginia Tech, Tim Sands.
Thank you, Julie and Lance. We're going to be speaking again together shortly, and thank you to the Heidi Tidies for getting us started this afternoon. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us here at Moss Art Center and online. I want to thank the Board of Visitors led by Rector Ed Bain and Vice Rector Dave Calhoun for their continued leadership and commitment to Virginia Tech. And please join me in welcoming Board Member Nancy Dye, who is with us here this afternoon. Let me extend a warm welcome to the new leaders who have come to Virginia Tech this past year. Simon Allen, our new Vice President for Finance and Chief Financial Officer, who comes to us from Cornell. Mario Ferruzzi joined us as Dean of the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences from the University of Arkansas. And Megan Duffy came to us from Marquette to become our women's basketball coach last April. I'd like to say a word about someone we lost recently. This year is not the same without the wonderful presence of Nikki Giovanni. Although she retired from Virginia Tech in 2022, her spirit is still very much part of our campus just as we became part of her.
And I want the legacy of Virginia to be reflected here at Virginia Tech. It won't happen in the 4 years that you're here, but some of you will be here 6 or 7, it'll happen by then.
It's easy to forget that you're doing something. And 20 years later or 30 years later, somebody comes and says to you, oh, you know, I remember when you read that poem in class and I didn't know what it meant. And it, you know, and then you realize, oh, I've done something. I know one of the things I'm most proud of is that we had a program here at Virginia Tech that we put Toni Morrison and Maya Angelou on stage together, two of America's greatest writers and people, that we were able here at Virginia Tech to present to the community for free. It was a great program, and I was very proud to bring the writers here to Virginia Tech. When I was here earlier, I had a fish fry because I was teaching Harlem Renaissance. Everybody said, you can't have a fish fry, nobody's going to come. And I thought, well, all they can say is nobody came. You know, I've heard no before, but that's how I met Frank. And Frank Beamer brought his entire football team. I saw them walking across the drill field, and it brings tears to my eyes that he brought the entire football team over in support. And we hadn't known each other, you know, we didn't know each other or anything. And I thought, well, I'm at the right place. If we get that kind of support for each other, this is home. I want to be a Hokie. This is what I want to be.
In June, we will have an opportunity to honor her legacy at a public memorial here at Moss Arts Center. I think that for many years to come, when we talk about what it means to be a Hokie, Nikki and Giovanni's words and spirit will be part of that conversation. As we face the challenges and opportunities of 2025, it will be important to remember who we are. Hokies are bold, curious, empathetic, and open-minded, in keeping with the principles of community that have served us well for the past 20 years. Last year, we piloted a new program called Perspectives, developed by the Constructive Dialogue Institute to help people communicate more effectively across differences. Currently, over 900 students and over 100 faculty and staff are enrolled, and this fall, all incoming students will participate in the program. I want to encourage all Hokies to engage in dialogue that strengthens our community by helping us understand our differences and seek common ground in supporting the mission and vision of the university. During last year's State of the University address, I announced an upcoming initiative to collaborate with our neighbors in the New River Valley region on shared challenges and opportunities. That initiative is now known as Partnerships for Progress, and I'm pleased to report that it's off to a great start. The partnership recently launched a new website and a community survey that has already received more than 800 responses. I want to express my appreciation to leaders from Blacksburg, Christiansburg, Montgomery County, and the New River Valley Regional Commission for their collaborative engagement.
I was really excited to take an active role because it's something that I have felt over the years as an elected official, but also as a Hokie, that really needs to happen because we have such a great community here. Virginia Tech is our economic engine, but there needs to be more communication between what we have in the localities and what Virginia Tech has, and more of a collaboration together.
The more you can get from the students and what they really want, what they need, what's good, what's bad, and the young professionals, we've talked about that this morning. They're the ones that are the future of the university.
This is going to help propel the next thing. We had a great response in the region to COVID. We were one of the first regional economies to recover across the country post-pandemic in terms of economic performance. And then we've had the passenger rail program over the past 10 years that is going to come to fruition in 2027. So I think this whole Partnership for Progress is going to really help propel us to do the next thing together as a region.
The partnership has already received an international award from the United Kingdom Town and Gown Association. We were recognized for incorporating student and community voices, and harnessing collective strengths, and working toward a visionary roadmap for the future of the region. So congratulations to all of our partners. We have several local leaders with us today, including elected officials and members of the Partnership Steering Committee. So thank you for your ongoing work to make the New River Valley a better place for all. Although college athletics is undergoing a generational transformation, which we won't go into today, the achievements of our student athletes, our teams, and our coaches are still the top story. We enjoyed watching the Olympics with 6 Hokie student athletes, 1 coach, and 4 alumni competing. We celebrated Caleb Henson winning a national wrestling championship. We honored Liz Kitley's achievements in basketball by retiring her jersey. And we applauded the career of legendary track and field coach Dave Cianelli, who retired last year. And congratulations to men's basketball coach Mike Young for securing his 400th career victory as a head coach. So now we're ready to cheer on our student athletes in 2025, looking forward to seeing what this new year brings. Before I talk about Virginia Tech specifically, I would like to acknowledge the challenges that many of you are facing as we interpret and respond to a flurry of executive orders that impact higher education. We will follow the law, but we'll do so once we fully understand the directives and the applications to Virginia Tech. We do not yet have many of those answers, but we are collecting information and providing guidance where we can. So please follow VT News for links and resource sites and instructions. We are planning a series of town hall meetings where we can answer questions and, more importantly, listen to the community. So please stay tuned for dates and times for those town halls. The past decade has been a period of transition for Virginia Tech, advancing the university as a truly global institution. Together, we have reached milestones that many would have considered beyond our reach a few years ago. The Blacksburg campus has been energized by Hitt Hall, the new undergraduate science laboratory building, and the transit center in the North Academic District. In Roanoke, we're excited about our growing School of Medicine and the expanding reach of the Fralin Biomedical Research Institute at VTC. And our new building in Alexandria positions Virginia Tech as a national nexus of emerging technology education and research in the Washington, D.C. area, and a new hub for a growing network of innovation. As we consider the state of our university in 2025 and our vision for the future, it's worth remembering how we came to be here. After decades of success, 10 years ago, the higher education landscape began shifting, and Virginia Tech faced challenges in meeting our growing responsibilities as a modern land-grant university. The university's enrollment demographics were stagnant, and its talent pools were not growing. Top students from underrepresented and underserved families in Virginia were going elsewhere. Employees, and I remember this distinctly, were saying that Virginia Tech graduates were not known for having a high degree of cultural competency, a key component of a globally competitive workforce. And our extramural research expenditures had stalled, hovering at around $300 million a year. In response to these challenges, we developed Inclusive VT and Beyond Boundaries to articulate and implement our vision for the university's future. Our Beyond Boundaries strategic plan involved the entire university in creating an environment that supports success for people from Virginia and beyond. Today, Virginia Tech has one of the fastest growing application pools in the country, with a total number of applications for the upcoming fall semester approaching 58,000. That's another record and nearly 3 times the number that we received for the fall of 2014. Growing student demand made it possible to meet our target of 30,000 enrolled undergraduate students. Our culture of community and service is attracting top faculty, staff, and partners who are fueling our growth and impact, including new opportunities in the greater Washington, D.C. area. 10 years since Beyond Boundaries challenged Virginia Tech to imagine a future without constraints and barriers, we have made great progress. Our endowment, which is skillfully managed by the Virginia Tech Foundation, has surpassed $1.9 billion in market value. I want to express my appreciation to the Foundation and CEO Elizabeth McClanahan for their stewardship of the financial and real estate assets, including the Corporate Research Center that support our mission and our vision. Our advancement division under Charlie Flieger launched Boundless Impact, the campaign for Virginia Tech, which is on track to raise $1.872 billion. I think we'll go through that, exceeding our initial $1.5 billion goal. So talk about going beyond boundaries. The average value of new gifts and commitments hit an all-time high, and Virginia Tech is now a national leader in undergraduate alumni giving. Charlie recently announced his upcoming retirement, and a national search is underway for his replacement. We'll have some very big shoes to fill. Would you all please join me in thanking Charlie for his service to the university and for being an amazing Hokie? Virginia Tech research has also been on a roll. We've exceeded our extramural research expenditure goal 2 years ahead of schedule, reaching over $450 million in fiscal year 2024. That's a 40% increase in research expenditures in just over the past 3 years. At the end of 2024, S&P Global upgraded Virginia Tech's long-term bond rating from AA to AA+. That's our highest rating ever. And while the rating itself doesn't necessarily impact our plans or lessen the fiscal challenges we are going to face, it is an independent external recognition of the important work we are doing to ensure the university's future strength and potential. Through our growing interdisciplinary institutes, research centers, and sites of innovation, Virginia Tech is positioned at the forefront of academic and technological advancement. Our investments in infrastructure underscore our commitment to a campus environment that supports bold ideas and advances Virginia Tech's distinct sense of place and service. We've risen to the challenge of the last decade, and we know that the decades ahead will be different. Anticipating the challenges and opportunities of the next generation requires a sustainable vision that adapts to a changing environment through 2050 and beyond. We launched Beyond Boundaries in 2015, that vision to inspire and challenge the university's community to imagine a future without boundaries. It provided context for a new strategic plan adopted in 2019, and then the COVID-19 pandemic dramatically changed the higher education landscape, driving the rapid development of remote learning and creating opportunities to think beyond the traditional campus models of learning and outreach. 2 years ago, a committee led by Julie Ross, France Belanger, and Sylvester Johnson gathered feedback to update our vision for 2050 and beyond. Their report emphasized the need for Virginia Tech to be agile, innovative, and drive change in higher education, refining the Beyond Boundaries vision into 3 concepts. The future of learning, focused on disciplinary depth, interdisciplinary experience, service, and global citizenship. The future of research and discovery, focused on deep expertise, high-impact scholarship, innovation hubs, and transdisciplinary teamwork. And a future of engagement, supporting UPPRO-SEM and our land-grant mission with a focus on problem-based solutions, teaching, research, and discovery in a connected global environment. The spirit of that refined vision is reflected in our current strategic priorities, Virginia Tech Advantage and Virginia Tech Global Distinction. Virginia Tech Advantage emphasizes affordability and accessibility, ensuring that financial constraints do not limit students' potential or their ability to take part in the full educational experience. Opportunities for experiential learning along with expanded scholarship support are cornerstones of the initiative. Virginia Tech Global Distinction focuses on supporting impactful research and scholarship activities, building on faculty strengths, and considering future needs and attracting, enabling, and championing talent and partners. To illustrate some of the ways Global Distinction can impact our mission, I've invited 2 of our presidential postdoctoral fellows to join me on stage. Please welcome Eduardo Camps, a cybersecurity fellow working on establishing reliable communication within quantum computer networks, and Blake Caldwell, a Research Frontiers fellow working in our health frontier, studying the human immune system, specifically immune system exhaustion in severe illness. So Blake, how are you hoping to improve patient outcomes through your research?
Yeah, thank you for that question. The bulk of my research actually focuses on chronic immune dysfunction in sepsis survivors. And so just by way of a little bit of background, sepsis remains a major problem for healthcare systems worldwide. It accounts for roughly 20% of global mortality. It's a really expensive disorder to treat. We spent $38 billion last year in the US alone treating sepsis patients. And what's surprising is that when you look at the source of that patient mortality, it's not this initial inflammatory event that lands these patients in the hospital, but rather long-term immunosuppression in those patients that renders them more susceptible to secondary infections like pneumonia. And we don't really have a good sense of why this immunosuppression occurs, and we don't really have a good way of treating them either. And so this is where my research comes into play. It's our hypothesis that epigenetics, or changes to the way cells organize and interpret their DNA, underlie these long-term immune phenotypes. And using mouse models, we've actually shown that if you target these epigenetic changes in these immune cells, you can actually restore healthy monocyte behavior to levels pre-sepsis. So this was done in experimental mouse models. We're now looking to translate these into patient samples, potentially with the hope of keeping these sepsis patients out of the hospital for good.
That's great. I mean, I think almost everybody in the audience probably knows someone who's suffered from sepsis. Is a very scary condition.
It's terrifying. Yeah.
And you know, I think in my mind, I was thinking, well, this is mainly due to something happening in the hospital environment or whatever it is. But I think you're talking about a much deeper level of understanding of what the origins of that might be and who is susceptible to it and not. So is the idea eventually to to be able to predict who might be at risk and to then take different kinds of precautions?
Yeah, that's absolutely a component of it. There's a lot of inter-individual differences in how susceptible they are to this immunosuppression. You have some patients who will go to the ER, will get better within a day and be discharged and be totally fine. And you have other people who'll be in the ER for like 5 days, get discharged, go home, and then they'll be returning to the hospital, monthly or weekly for years after the fact. And again, we don't really have a good sense of why this is, and it could very well be that there are these epigenetic differences between individuals that they've sort of accumulated over their lifespan that's sort of altering their susceptibility to this pathogenic insult. And so that's absolutely something we're hoping to understand with our research.
Fascinating. Eduardo, when you think of quantum computing, we normally think of speed. If that's the first thing you think of is, wow, this is fast stuff or something like that. Obviously, you can solve problems in principle that conventional computing can't solve. But you're really focused on reliability. Why is that?
Yeah, the main problem is that quantum information, unlike classical information, can be destroyed when it interacts with the environment. So even if we have these speeding up algorithms, if something happened inside the computer, we can have random noise or just meaningless information. So we need to find a way to protect the information from these interactions. So my focus is to find models or strategies to be able to perform such algorithms so we can have the speeding up. But we actually have the real answer and not just meaningless information coming from this interaction that is just the random problem of quantum physics.
I think most of the folks in the audience, myself included, think of quantum computing as something way out into the future, and we know we have to be prepared. I think you're introducing an element that obviously is really important to the future of quantum computing, but I'm glad you're doing that work. It's reassuring. I understand you're connecting with researchers around the world, and how important is Virginia Tech's global engagement in supporting your success?
It has been very important because, as you said, quantum computing is it's a global interest. It's something that has a lot of information every day. I mean, I just open arXiv and there's a lot of new papers. So I need to be in order that my research is actually meaningful and I can share it, I need to be in contact with the top scientists in the world. So Virginia Tech has provided me with a lot of resources and a lot of opportunities to be in contact with these people through workshops, conferences. So my professional development and the ability that I have to share my discoveries is just because Virginia Tech is providing me with all these opportunities and resources.
Well, thank you. Blake, global distinction recognizes the value of bringing talented researchers together across disciplines, not just around the world, but across disciplines. How does that impact your work?
Yeah, so I've been involved in research for like 15 years now, and that's been at like 5 separate research institutions. And I can honestly say the level of interdisciplinary collaboration that I've experienced here at Virginia Tech just dwarfs all those past experiences. Just by way of an example, we just had a study published where we were collaborating with physicians at the Carillion Roanoke Memorial Hospital, where we were able to get sepsis patient blood samples and compare the molecular phenotype of immune cells within those blood samples to what we were observing in our mouse experimental models. And we actually showed a really high degree of correlation between what we're observing in patients and what we're observing in mice. And this gives us a much greater degree of confidence that these therapies we're pursuing in these mouse studies might actually be translatable to a clinical setting. One of the other things I'm really excited about is my mentor, Dr. Liu Li, and I are currently working on a grant that would establish a Biology Integration Institute here at Virginia Tech. And what this would do is it'd be bring researchers from across Southwest Virginia together, studying everything from computational biology, ecology, microbiology, immunology, and across many different model organisms, such as wild bat populations, mice, zebrafish, flies, all coming together to study the innate immune system and how it's conserved across evolutionary space. The golden rule of biology generally being that if something is conserved, it's generally very important. And I think this is really emblematic of sort of the work we do at Virginia Tech, bringing diverse minds, diverse backgrounds, diverse perspectives to tackle these really difficult problems in new and interesting ways.
And if I understand correctly, you're working in a group that most people would say, okay, it's an immunology group, but you're not an immunologist.
No, not at all. So I joined Dr. Lee's laboratory with no immune background. I was kind of afraid of immunology, to be honest. There's a lot of alphabet soup with like CDs, and there's like 1 million T cells, and I don't know any of them. So I have a background in epigenetics, and I think that's actually been really important for our work because we have Dr. Lee, who's this renowned expert in innate immunity, and then me, who has been really well trained in these epigenetic techniques, and we've been sort of able to synergize our efforts to like unlock some novel research avenues in innate immune memory.
Well, thank you very much, Blake and Eduardo. I could sit here and talk to you forever, but I think we'll move on and we can capture you later. But thank you very much for sharing your research and your energy and what's exciting to you about the environment that we're trying to create.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Their work really illustrates. Their work really illustrates what we mean by global distinction, the impact of research and scholarship that changes people's lives, and the global nature of innovation. Our new building and campus infrastructure are expanding what is possible for Hokies. However, buildings, campuses, and borders can sometimes be barriers, constraining our thinking and our access to partners, resources, and the people and communities who benefit most from our mission and vision. As we grow, we will be challenged to build an innovation network that transcends the borders of our campuses and engages partners where they live and work. This is not new for Virginia Tech. We've been doing this for more than a century. We built the Virginia Cooperative Extension Network with offices in every Virginia county. We established an agricultural experiment station with 11 research and extension centers across the Commonwealth. We built a graduate education network in Northern Virginia over the past 50-some years. And our growing global presence includes research and education engagement in Europe, Africa, and India. And for the past 15 years, we have been building a health science and technology hub in Roanoke with the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine and the Fralin Biomedical Research Institute at VTC. While the Fralin Institute is physically based in Roanoke, its researchers have been engaging with partners across the country and recently established a laboratory at the Children's National Hospital Research and Innovation Campus in Washington, D.C. Joining us from that laboratory to talk about their work and how it taps into our innovation network are FBRI Executive Director Mike Friedlander and researchers Christopher Horrigan and Fred Wu. Mike, can you tell us a little bit about Virginia Tech's growing emphasis on cancer research and our presence there in the greater D.C. metro area?
Sure thing, Tim. As you know, a lot's been happening recently on that front to catalyze the growth of the focus on cancer research for Virginia Tech. For example, the incredible $50 million gift that was made from the Red Gates Foundation to support cancer research at Virginia Tech. The establishment of our cancer research centers, both in Roanoke on the Health Science Campus and here in the Washington, D.C. metro area on the Children's National Research and Innovation Campus. Also, our partners in Roanoke, Carilion Clinic, have launched an initiative to build a new cancer hospital and cancer center in Roanoke. And then another example is the recent recognition by Virginia Tech as one of the focused ultrasound centers of excellence, becoming the 6th in the nation. When you couple all that with the existing strengths, of course, in engineering and computer science at Virginia Tech, and really exemplified, I think, here in the Washington, D.C. area by the Innovation Campus and the Sangani Center for Artificial Intelligence and Data Analytics. We are really poised very strategically now to take advantage and bring together this entire innovation network, in this case, to really make a difference on the global stage in terms of cancer research to help patients and their families. I'm joined here by two of the newest Hokies, Dr. Chris Horrigan on my right and Dr. Fred Wu on my left, both of whom are physicians and scientists. Chris is the director here at the Children's National Research and Innovation Campus of the FBIR Cancer Research Center. And Fred has labs in Roanoke doing basic research and early stage preclinical research, and then also has a clinical research program here at Children's National in their Brain Tumor Institute. Chris Horrigan is world-renowned for his efforts in understanding leukemias and bringing to bear very sophisticated analytics to discover biomarkers and to use those to predict how patients will respond when remission occurs or relapse in these various types of cancers. And he's got a fantastic national and global network to address this. And Fred is one of the leading innovators of the technology of using focused ultrasound to address these devastating disorders in children, pediatric brain cancers. So Chris, tell us a little bit about why did you want to come here to Virginia Tech from the National Institutes of Health down the road, and what is it about the innovation network of Virginia Tech that you see as really facilitating your work?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So, as you know, we're at this point in time where we can do incredible things in the laboratories like you see behind us, but also increasingly online using advanced computational tools. As an oncologist, my primary motivation is how this research can impact patients, diagnosis, and treatment, and how we can better care for them. The historic opportunity here, I think, in DC to build a new cancer research center seemed to be the perfect way to bring the best research teams together with a range of expertise, with purpose and urgency to really cross traditional academic boundaries and drive things forward with a particular focus on engineering cancer solutions. So right here, we have computational biologists working alongside those with expertise in drug discovery, in genetics, in diagnosis. We have this large network of collaboration with major clinical cancer centers across the country. Our work's already funded by state and federal funding, but increasingly the mission supported by industry partnerships, by foundations, and generous support from alumni and friends of Virginia Tech. The DC...
Oh, we lost him. We'll see if we can bring him back, but I think you got the gist of it. I was going to ask Mike a little bit about how much being in the DC area is important to making connections with partners, but I think he basically answered that question. Hopefully we can bring back Fred. I'd like to hear more from him, but we'll get moving. We'll keep moving, and then if we get a chance to connect again, we will. When I speak of the Innovation Network, I'm thinking of all the thematic, place-based nodes that represent our deep engagement with partners and communities embedded within them to advance their aspirations. This includes growing the local seafood industry in Hampton, advancing national security in Arlington, and supporting our partner Carillion Clinic and bringing the world's leading experts in fields like addiction to serve the needs of the people of Southwest Virginia. But a network is more than a sum of nodes connected to our hubs in Blacksburg, Roanoke, and Northern Virginia. It's also the connections between the nodes that amplify the impact of the Innovation Network. It's deploying our AI expertise at the Alexandria Innovation Hub to connect with researchers at the Children's National Research and Innovation Campus to help them fight pediatric cancer. Researchers working with our Sangani Center for Artificial Intelligence and Data Analytics are exploring how AI-based tools can dramatically enhance our ability to understand, predict, and address health problems. This includes finding potential new treatments for development disorders in children, new ways to identify rare genetic diseases, new strategies for predicting and preventing severe infections, and ways to better predict and prepare for emergency demands on hospitals. In other words, it's utilizing world-leading concentrations of talent in multiple, seemingly disparate emerging fields to create new frontiers that address the world's most challenging problems. For an innovation network to work at this highest level, every student, employee, and partner needs to feel like they are part of a dynamic global network that they can leverage. This is the Virginia Tech Innovation Network that I know we can become. This is the new manifestation of an engaged university, the opposite of an ivory tower. Virginia Tech has been building an innovation network for decades because it's in our institutional DNA to take on challenges, work collaboratively, learn by experience, and seek solutions that make an impact. That's why the words ut prosum resonate so strongly and have become part of our identity as Hokies. Today, I believe we are standing at another inflection point for our university. We can take the challenge of growing a global network of impact and innovation with the spirit and character of one university, one Virginia Tech. Recently, I had the opportunity to host a fireside chat with Joseph Aoun, the author of the book Robot Proof and president of Northeastern University. Northeastern has built a global network of 4,700 partners in 146 countries, bringing world experience into the classroom.
We also have built, as I mentioned, a network of 13 campuses in order to go to where the learners are and essentially devise programs that will meet the needs of lifelong learners.
We struggle, frankly, in trying to understand how to make that one university and how to connect everyone so that people, students, faculty, and partners feel like they've not just tapped into that little local node, they've actually tapped into the entire network of Virginia Tech when they interact with one piece of it. How do you deal with that at Northeastern?
First of all, all our campuses are unified with respect to our strategic plan, because our strategic plan is what brings us together and gives us the common language. But also, in addition, if you look at them as satellites, there'll always be satellites. If you look at them as center of innovation and experimentation, that means that it's enriching the whole network.
And we opened a new Center of Innovation and Research that certainly had the potential to enrich and expand the Virginia Tech Innovation Network by opening doors to new engagement and partnerships in the Washington, D.C. area. So please welcome back Vice President and Executive Director Lance Collins, joining us from our first academic building focused on innovation in Alexandria's Potomac Yard, and Julie Ross, Dean of Engineering and Chair of our Northern Virginia Steering Committee. So Lance, can you say a little bit about Academic Building 1 and how it supports our research and engagement in the mission? And first of all, just I'd love to hear a little bit about how actually opening up the building has made a change maybe in the last few weeks in the kind of level of engagement that you can achieve now that you're all physically together.
Well, thank you, President Sands. This is an incredibly exciting moment, in my opinion, in the history of Virginia Tech. As you know, I've been here at the Innovation Campus for the past 4.5 years, but for the very first time, all of the components that we've been building, the faculty, the staff, the administration, and students are coming together and really unleashing the true potential of the Innovation Campus. We will serve as the nexus of academia, industry, and government in technology areas such as artificial intelligence and machine learning through the Singani Center, NextG Wireless, intelligent interfaces, and quantum information science. We continue to attract partnerships with so many different companies that are very interested in working with us and with government agencies. But I'd like to talk about the building in one specific way, if I can, to talk a little bit about what we call the Learning Loft. This is essentially a 2-story makerspace where our Master of Engineering students in computer science and computer engineering will come together and they'll work on problems that are sourced from industry in small teams, teams of 4 to 5. The students engaging in these projects are really learning more than just the technical requirements to solve the particular problem, but in addition, the working in a team, managing the project to deadlines and communicating effectively the outcomes of their project to their sponsor, they gain leadership skills that I think will serve them well throughout their career. This platform is enabled by the physical facility here in Academic Building 1. This beautiful space allows the students to come together, to collaborate, and to achieve the outcomes that are required by the project. So it's really the enabler in some sense. The facility enables the work that we're going to be doing.
Thank you, Lance. You know, Julie, you have led this Northern Virginia Steering Committee, which was really put together with the idea of taking our assets in Northern Virginia and trying to synergize them. It was kind of before we were talking about an innovation network, but you led our way into this. What are you learning about innovation networks and how they work for Virginia Tech and Northern Virginia, but even beyond?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think as we look at the work that the steering committee did, first, as you mentioned in your remarks, we recognize that as an institution, we've been doing this work for a really long time. We've been engaged in all kinds of places around the state and actually around the world in doing our work. And so as we thought about Northern Virginia and what we had built there and what we were planning to build for the future, it became really clear that not only are all of these separate sort of initiatives, pieces, and parts of things that we have built really exciting in and of themselves, but as we started to think about what all the interfaces look like and the interconnectedness between the initiatives, the committee got really excited about that, because as we think about innovation for the future, we feel like there's so much potential in that interconnectedness and in all those interface spaces that it just leads us to completely new places as an institution. So, you know, we're really excited about it, but I'll also say we've learned a lot about what's easy and what's hard in doing this work. And so I think there's work for us to learn as a university how to do this work in ways that really facilitate the success of our faculty, staff, and students. And that's, you know, going to be the challenge that we have and the exciting things that come next.
Well, thanks, Julie. You know, we're developing this framework for the concept of the Innovation Network, and your steering committee really got into some nitty-gritty stuff. I mean, maybe you could share with the audience some of the issues around what are the barriers, because we'd like our partners, our students, our faculty, and the staff to, when they step into any part of Virginia Tech, to feel like they're leveraging the whole thing. Just maybe, you don't have to go through in detail all the work that your committee's done over the last year plus, but just a couple of hints about why a traditional university approach isn't going to work here.
Right, so we did get into all kinds of nitty-gritty, and you don't want all the details today, but I think we identified, again, places where our approaches and our structures were working really well, and we were finding that this transdisciplinary work was happening very easily and naturally, and other places where it wasn't. And so we took some time to try to dig in and understand why that was happening, and to understand whether we have structures in place, for example, that weren't exactly meeting our needs for what we're trying to do for the future. I certainly want to give a shout out to all of our colleagues that work in the Northern Virginia region. They were amazing to come together across a set of events that we held where they could really come in and help us understand where those challenges were, and to articulate some of the things that they had seen and the experience that they had in the region. And of course, we were able to then think about how that projected across other parts of the university. So really exciting work. We all learned a lot, and I think we're poised now to make some of those changes to do some things differently for the future that should help.
Just so you have a sense of it, their agenda included parking. So I mean, that tells you how in-depth it's been.
Parking and transportation and space and student housing.
And more work to do. But Lance, you are in a unique position of having built an organization in a place that's far from the main campus and coming in and trying to leverage the rest of the university. What are the kinds of challenges and obstacles you've faced, and maybe how are you addressing them?
Well, I really think we learned a lot in the course of the pandemic to take advantage of technology. It allows us to work across different locations seamlessly, and a couple of really good examples of that, in my opinion. The headquarters for the Singani Center for Artificial Intelligence and Data Analytics has moved into this new building, into Academic Building 1. I think that's appropriate in some sense, because it really creates an interface with a lot of the industry that is taking advantage of AI these days that are located in this region. But really, it's a portal into the entire breadth of faculty that can contribute to solving really difficult problems. So we work with faculty that are in other locations in Northern Virginia, with faculty that are also in Blacksburg, and really the collective is what is available to a particular company that may have an interest or a challenge. And so that, you sort of get the intellectual heft of the main campus, but the portal here and the connectivity into companies that are regionally located. A second example is that we are co-located with our business colleagues in the Pamplin College of Business, and there are large opportunities there. We have shared interests in how AI is completely revolutionizing the way that business analytics is being done and business decision making is being made. And so we get to collaborate with them on that. And on our side, our students are also interested in, some of them are interested in becoming entrepreneurs. And so they're beginning to learn the business acumen that they need to go along with their technical skills in order to be successful in potential future startups that could come off of this campus. So lots going on and lots of excitement across all of the campuses, all of the nodes of the network, as it were.
Well, thank you, Julie and Lance, for all that you and your teams have done to bring us to this point. Obviously, a lot more to do here to realize this vision for the future university, but I look forward to being with you on February 28th for the grand opening celebration, Lance. And so please join me in recognizing Lance and Julie for their work. That milestone in Alexandria and the successes and accomplishments we'll celebrate in the future are possible because of all of you who've laid the foundation for the future over the last many years. So I want to express my deep appreciation to the entire Virginia Tech community for your support, your enthusiasm, and your remarkable work over the last decade. We have truly traveled beyond boundaries, and we're just getting started. So thank you, and let's go Hokies!